He watched the plane disappear on the news, and seconds later, his phone buzzed. A video. His 13-year-old nephew wide-eyed whispering, "Uncle E, there's a man on this plane. He's doing something to the wires. If anything happens, don't trust anyone." And then, boom. A crash that killed everyone on board. They called it a tragic accident. But one man knew better. And he was ready to risk everything to expose the truth. Because when the government buries a lie that deep, you don't bring a lawyer, you bring a man with nothing left to lose. Before I go into the story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. The sky above Los Angeles was postcard blue when Ethan Cole dropped his nephew Caleb off at LAX. "Go win that robotics trophy," Ethan grinned, ruffling Caleb's curly hair. "And hey, send me a postcard from Morocco." Caleb laughed. "Nobody sends postcards anymore, Uncle E." He boarded the Sky Vista 316, a private-sponsored charter plane headed for an international youth tech summit in Rabat. Ethan watched the aircraft take off, unaware it would vanish from radar 4 hours later, over the Atlantic. By noon, the headlines hit. Private jet carrying U.S. students crashes off Moroccan coast, no survivors. Ethan's world shattered. Caleb wasn't just his nephew, he was his last family. Ethan had raised him like a son after his brother died in a construction accident. Now the silence in their shared apartment screamed louder than any explosion. But something didn't add up. 2 days after the crash, Ethan received a video message from Caleb's cloud account. "Uncle E, something's weird on this plane. There's a guy, he keeps switching seats and messing with wires. I think he saw me recording. I'm hiding this file, just in case." Ethan's blood ran cold. The clip ended with Caleb's frightened whisper, "If anything happens, don't let this go." The footage was grainy, time-stamped 30 minutes before the crash. It clearly showed a man with a military-grade sat phone and gloves, moving toward the cockpit. But when Ethan showed it to FAA officials, they dismissed it as deepfake manipulation. Ethan wasn't buying it. So he flew to Washington, D.C. and crashed the press conference being held by the National Safety Bureau. There was a man on that plane. This wasn't an accident. Security dragged him out. Cameras flashed. That night, the news painted him as a grieving uncle losing touch with reality. But someone else was watching. Ava Reyes, a quiet observer in the back row of the press briefing, took out her phone and zoomed in on Ethan's face. She wasn't State Department like her badge claimed. She was CIA. And she just found a thread that connected far more than a single crash. As Ethan checked into a cheap DC motel, someone slipped a burner phone under his door. It rang the moment he picked it up. "Stop asking questions," a voice warned. "You're already dead." He stared out the window, jaw clenched. He wasn't a spy, he wasn't a soldier, he was a stuntman. But he wasn't letting this go. Not until he exposed the truth, or died trying. Ethan didn't sleep. He replayed Caleb's video 100 times, pausing at every frame. That man, gloves, dark jacket, sat phone, was real. And he had something to do with the crash. But no one believed him. Morning came, and so did his resolve. Ethan hit the streets, determined to track down anyone connected to Sky Vista 316. Through an old friend in stunt coordination, he found out something chilling. The plane wasn't just a school-sponsored ride. It had been leased last minute by a shadowy firm registered in the Cayman Islands, Vardis Group, a name Ethan had never heard before. But Ava Reyes had. From inside a sleek black SUV parked across the street, Ava watched Ethan enter a small law office. She listened as her earpiece crackled. "He's moving again. Do we intercept?" "Not yet," she replied. Her cover as a State Department attaché was thin, but it was all she had. Beneath it, her CIA assignment had been clear. Infiltrate Vardis and uncover their connection to international weapons trafficking. She hadn't expected to find a grieving stuntman forcing his way into the same storm. Inside the law office, Ethan met with a tired paralegal who'd handled the jet contract. "Look," the man whispered, glancing over his shoulder. "I was told not to ask questions. Cash, wire transfers, VPN, cloaked IPs. Whoever leased that plane, they didn't want it traced." Ethan pressed him. "Do you have a name?" The paralegal slid a folder across the table. "All I could find. Don't tell anyone you got this from me." Ethan tucked the file into his coat, but when he stepped outside, a silver van pulled up fast. Men jumped out, faces hidden, guns drawn. Ethan barely had time to react. One lunged, Ethan twisted, grabbed his arm and flipped him onto the sidewalk. Another came swinging, a gun cocked. "Back off," Ava barked, stepping out of the SUV, gun raised and badge flashing. "Federal agent!" The attackers hesitated, then bolted into the van and peeled off. Ethan stood frozen. "Who the hell are you?" Ava holstered her weapon. "Someone who just saved your life." He narrowed his eyes. "You were at the press conference," she nodded. "And I've been watching you ever since. What you found, it's real. And if we don't move fast, you'll be dead before you figure it out." Ethan looked down at the folder still clutched in his hand. "You want the truth?" Ava said. "Then come with me." He hesitated. For the first time, someone wasn't calling him crazy. He got in the car. The car sped through DC streets, tension thick in the silence. Ethan stared at Ava. "CIA?" She nodded without flinching. "I've been building a case on Vardis Group for 6 months. You just lit a match they've been afraid of." He pulled out the folder. This was in their leasing file. Some names, payment logs, a hotel receipt in Casablanca. Ava skimmed the documents. One name jumped out. Daniel Keene, a retired intelligence officer turned corporate consultant. She'd seen it before, on a black-budget manifest tied to a failed arms deal in Libya. "What does a weapons consultant have to do with a student plane crash?" Ethan asked. Ava looked up. "Everything." She turned into a parking garage, the walls painted with silent warning. Inside, she led him to a secure room hidden behind an old storage cage. There, under dim blue lights, she unrolled a large corkboard filled with red yarn, photos, and maps. Ethan froze. At the center was a photo of the Sky Vista 3 and 16 wreckage, but the yarn connected it to faces he didn't recognize. Senators, CEOs, private security firms, even a United Nations diplomat. "You're telling me this is some kind of global cover-up?" Ava replied calmly. "I'm telling you that Caleb's death was part of a larger operation, one the public was never meant to question. That plane was a liability. Someone on board knew too much. Killing everyone on board was cheaper than silence." Ethan's hands trembled. "Caleb was a kid," Ava softened. "I know, and you're not the only one who lost someone." Just then, a light blinked on Ava's encrypted laptop. "Encrypted message just came in," she muttered. It was from a Moroccan contact named Layla, an ex-journalist who'd gone underground after exposing corporate war crimes. Her message was short. "Keene is in Rabat, staying at Hotel Aswak. You have 48 hours. After that he disappears again." Ethan stepped back. "You're going to Morocco?" "We are. I'm not CIA." She looked him dead in the eyes. "You're the only one who saw what no one else did. You have instincts I trust more than half the people in my agency." Ethan didn't reply. He turned to the board, his eyes drawn to a photo of the man in Caleb's video. Gloves, sat phone, steel cold stare. "I'll go," he said. "But not for your mission." Ava nodded. "For Caleb?" He didn't answer. But she already knew. That night, as they packed under the cover of darkness, a man watched from a rooftop across the garage, silencer in hand, eyes locked on Ava's SUV. He tapped his earpiece. "They're moving." "Should I take the shot?" A crackled voice replied, "Not yet. Let them land in Morocco. We'll handle it there." The plane touched down at Rabat Saleh Airport under a hazy orange sky. Ethan stepped onto Moroccan soil with a tightened jaw and a worn leather duffel. His eyes scanned the crowd, tourists, diplomats, soldiers, but no sign of Keene. Ava moved with precision, her black scarf tucked low over her hair, sunglasses hiding her face. "We'll check into separate hotels," she said. "Safer that way. Don't use your real name. And trust no one." Ethan nodded. "Not even you?" She didn't answer. That night, Ethan sat in a dim cafe, sipping overly sweet mint tea, watching the entrance of Hotel Aswak from across the street. Every hour, he rotated tables and changed his posture. Old stunt tricks. There he was. Daniel Keene exited the lobby with 2 men in tailored suits flanking him. His walk was calm, deliberate, powerful. Ethan's chest clenched. That's him, the man from Caleb's video. He grabbed his phone and called Ava. "He's here, leaving now in a black Range Rover." "Don't follow him, not yet," she warned. "A meeting with Layla. You track, I'll dig." Ethan ignored the advice. He tailed the Range Rover through winding streets, motorcycles zipping past, the city glowing with lanterns. But at a dead-end market alley, the SUV stopped. Too fast, too clean. Trap. A gun clicked behind Ethan's ear. "You're not CIA," a voice sneered. "You're just a grieving idiot." 2 men dragged him into a butcher's stall and shoved him against hanging slabs of meat. One held a knife. "Keene said to scare you." "Me?" I prefer permanent. Just as the blade rose, pop, pop, gunfire. The man to Ethan's left dropped. The other stumbled back as Ava burst in, 2 shots in her hand, rage in her eyes. I told you not to follow. They dragged Ethan out as sirens echoed in the distance. Later, holed up in an abandoned textile shop, Ava paced furiously. What the hell were you thinking? I saw him, Ethan said, still trembling. I couldn't just sit. You're not trained for this. No, he snapped, but I'm the only one who cares if Caleb was murdered. Silence. Then Ava dropped a file onto the dusty floor. Layla gave me this. Keen was involved in a black market drone deal. One of the techs who threatened to expose it was posing as a teacher on Caleb's flight. Ethan's breath caught. This wasn't a random crash, she said. They were eliminating a whistleblower, and Caleb got caught in the crossfire. Ava met his eyes. No, Caleb saw, and they killed everyone to keep him quiet. Ethan leaned back, stunned. But outside, unseen in the alley below, a camera lens watched them from a cracked window across the street. A finger tapped send. They know. Terminate both. Midnight in Rabat. Ethan stared at the ceiling of the safe house, fists clenched. Ava slept lightly on a cot near the doorway, gun within reach. The silence between them wasn't trust, just tension and pause. Then the burner phone rang. Ava snapped awake and answered. A voice, distorted and low. You're in danger. Someone on your side is feeding them intel. Who is this? Look for the one who always arrives too late. The line went dead. Ethan sat up. You trust your team? I trust no one, she replied. Still, that message burned through her. Someone in her own agency was sabotaging their moves. The alley ambush, the van in D.C., the camera in the window last night. Too many near misses, too much precision. That morning they met with Layla, the underground journalist. She wore a hijab and sunglasses, her voice low and fast. There's a facility outside Casablanca. Vardis uses it to process contracts, military and political. One of their servers was cloned by an ex-employee. She handed Ava a flash drive. This contains a location. That's all I could get before my source vanished. Vanished how? Ethan asked. Pieces, she replied coldly. You don't walk away from Vardis. Just then, Layla's eyes widened. Wait, you brought him? She pointed to Ethan. Ava tensed. Why? Layla backed away. They know him. He's the one on the news. He's the reason Vardis fast-tracked a purge protocol. You brought a target to my doorstep. Ethan stepped forward. Then tell me where to go. I'll finish this. Ava grabbed his arm. We do it together. That night, they made their way to the facility outside Casablanca. A dusty compound fenced by rusted barbed wire. 2 guards on patrol. Using a back entry Layla described, they slipped inside. It was quiet, too quiet. They entered the server room. Ava plugged in the drive. Screens flickered to life. Files downloaded fast. Operation Daggerpoint. Senate Black Fund transfers. SkyVista 316. Containment strategy. Keen authorized. Proof. All of it. Then the lights went out. Gunshots echoed. Glass shattered. Red emergency lights flashed. And a voice yelled, Ava, don't move. A shadow emerged. Agent Darren Lowe, Ava's CIA field partner, gun raised. What are you doing here? Ava asked. I should ask you the same. His eyes flicked to Ethan. You brought him into this? You compromised the mission. Then his radio crackled. Execute both. Make it look like foreign crossfire. Ava froze. You've been feeding them. Darren's eyes betrayed it. Just for a second. Then he lifted his gun. A shot rang out. Ava didn't hesitate. She fired first. Darren dropped. Blood soaked the server floor. Ethan stood frozen. Ava's voice cracked. He was my partner. But he wasn't your ally, Ethan replied. The flash drive still blinked. Download complete. But they weren't safe yet. Outside, headlights flared in the desert dust. Dozens. They were surrounded. The compound lights buzzed to life as black SUVs rolled into the dirt yard outside. Inside, Ethan and Ava crouched low behind a steel server rack. The air stank of blood and overheating wires. Darren's body lay in a pool of betrayal on the tile floor. They're here, Ava whispered. Ethan checked the flash drive. We have the evidence, now we just need to survive. Correction, she muttered. Now we need a miracle. Gunfire erupted. Ava returned fire, surgical and sharp. Ethan grabbed Darren's dropped pistol. Not his usual scene partner, but he adapted fast. The server room lit up with muzzle flashes. A bullet grazed Ethan's shoulder. He winced but didn't stop firing. Back exit, Ava shouted. It leads to the generator room. We move on 3. 1, 2, 3. They sprinted. Bullets chased them through the corridor as sparks flew from torn cables. They crashed through a steel door and into a dark room filled with humming machinery. Behind them, bootsteps closed in. Ava slammed the exit shut and rigged a quick trap, wires from the generator sparking toward the metal doorknob. "Let them try," she muttered. Ethan checked the drive. "If we lose this, Caleb died for nothing." Ava pulled out a satellite transmitter. "We send it now, to a dead drop in Langley. If we die here, at least the truth lives." She slid the drive in and hit transmit. The light blinked red. No signal. She cursed. "We're too deep underground." They moved fast, climbing a narrow maintenance ladder that opened onto the roof. The desert stretched out, black, quiet, and vast, but below, headlights turned and more men poured out of the vehicles. "We're trapped." Ethan looked around, then spotted it, an old radio tower 500 feet across the sand. "If we can reach that, we get signal." They climbed down the back of the building and made a break for it. Spotlights flared. A shout. Then, machine gun fire. Ethan pushed Ava into a trench. Bullets sprayed the sand. "Go," he yelled. She hesitated. "I'm not leaving you. You have to get that drive to the world. That's what matters." A bullet grazed his leg. He gritted his teeth. "I'll buy you time." Ava stared at him, heart torn. Then she nodded, tears brimming, and ran. Ethan stood, limping, and opened fire toward the headlights. It was a fool's stand, but the distraction worked. Ava vanished into the dark, the flash drive tucked in her vest. Then, silence. Ethan fell to one knee. He was out of ammo. Boots approached. A man stepped forward. "Daniel Keene." "Stuntman turned hero," Keene sneered. "You should have stayed broken." He raised his gun. But before the shot could land, a chopper roared above. Floodlights blinded the men. CIA extraction. Ava had made it. The CIA chopper landed like thunder on the outskirts of Rabat. Ava helped Ethan inside, blood soaking his shirt, his face pale but defiant. The medics worked fast, but his eyes never left her hand, the one still gripping the flash drive. "Did you get it out?" he asked through gritted teeth. She nodded. "Transmitted from the tower. Dead drop confirmed. It's at Langley now." Ethan let out a breath. Then Caleb didn't die for nothing. But Ava's face didn't match his relief. She stared at her phone where a message blinked. "Drive received. Under review. Do not release to media." "What does that mean?" Ethan asked. "It means they might bury it," she replied. Again. Back in D.C., Ethan was taken to a secure facility, patched up, isolated, interrogated. CIA handlers circled him like wolves. To them, he was a civilian liability, too noisy, too emotional, too unpredictable. Ava fought to keep him in the loop, but doors began to close. People stopped returning calls. "National security," they said. Then one morning, Ava's contact at the NSA handed her a sealed file and whispered, "Run it now, before they lock it for good." Inside the file was everything: flight manifest logs, black site payments, direct approvals from senators and defense contractors. Evidence that SkyVista 316 was used to eliminate a whistleblower under the cover of mechanical failure. Keene signed authorization. Ava called Ethan. "Meet me at the old warehouse. We're going public." That night, under flickering warehouse lights, they recorded a video. Ava in full CIA gear, Ethan with Caleb's picture in hand. "To the people of America," Ava said, "the truth you were denied ends now. The government covered up the murder of innocent students, including this boy, Caleb Cole. The evidence is in your hands. Do not let them silence it again." They uploaded it to 10 cloud servers, sent it to journalists, UN officials, international watchdogs. Then they waited. Nothing. No arrests, no headlines, no pushback, just silence. Until the next morning, Ava's phone buzzed. A video had gone viral. A student's father had shared their story. More victims stepped forward. A whistleblower from within Vardis confirmed the plot. The floodgates opened. Congress demanded hearings. Keene vanished. Warrants were issued, and Ethan, he stood outside Caleb's old school, placing a rose by the steps. The press hounded him, but he gave only one line. He was just a kid with a dream. They killed him, but he still changed the world. That night, Ava met him on a rooftop in D.C., the city lights glowing below. "What now?" she asked. He looked at her. "Now, we wait for the people who aren't happy the truth got out." Ava pulled her jacket tight. "They'll come," he nodded. "Let them." But in the shadows below, a black SUV parked. A red laser blinked against a lens. Someone was watching. 3 weeks later. Ethan Cole sat alone on a bench overlooking the Potomac River. The sun was rising, but he hadn't slept. Ava had disappeared. Not vanished, reassigned, silenced. Protected, they claimed. But Ethan knew what that really meant. She'd gone underground. The files they leaked triggered global investigations. Vardis executives were arrested, senators squirmed through hearings. But Daniel Keene? Still a ghost. Until now. An envelope arrived at Ethan's apartment. No return address. Inside was a single photo. Keene, in Prague, smiling, alive, and below it 4 words hand-scrawled in black ink. Do you want justice? He didn't hesitate. That night, Ethan boarded a flight to Europe under a forged name. No backup, no CIA, just the ghost of a boy named Caleb and a promise not yet fulfilled. In Prague, he tracked Keene to an elite private estate, a fortress of stone guarded by ex-mercenaries and walls that whispered power. Ethan posed as a courier, a decoy package. He slipped inside. Silence, shadows, sweat. Through the halls he followed the scent of cigars and the echo of laughter. Then, the office. Keene sat behind a desk lined with gold pens and lies. When he looked up, he smiled. Mr. Cole, at last. Ethan aimed his pistol. This is for Caleb. But Keene only poured a drink. You think killing me fixes it? You're just a broken man with a death wish. Ethan stepped closer. Maybe. But today, I'm the bullet justice forgot. A long pause. Then Keene chuckled. Do it. Ethan's hands trembled. But then he noticed a blinking red light behind Keene. A camera. Recording. Live feed. It wasn't just about vengeance anymore. It was about showing the world that no man stood above consequence. So he lowered the gun. You'll rot in a cell, Ethan said, and I'll make sure the whole world watches you do it. As he turned to leave, the estate exploded into sirens and shouting. Interpol had been tipped. Ava's voice buzzed in his earpiece. Told you I'd finish this with you. Ethan smiled. Keene was arrested, and this time, no one could cover it up. Weeks later, Ethan stood at Caleb's grave. He placed a small chip on the headstone, a copy of the evidence, a permanent record. I kept my promise, kid, he whispered. Sleep easy. He walked away, free but changed, because some scars never fade. But sometimes, they become your armor. If you want more powerful stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment what shocked you the most. Your engagement helps bring more stories like Ethan's to light. Because sometimes the truth needs a warrior.